Hi everyone, today we're talking about tropical cyclones. I'm going to be discussing the characteristics of a tropical cyclone as well as the various factors which influence their distribution and the level of damage that they cause. So a tropical cyclone is an example of a hazard. A hazard is an event which causes damage and destruction to people, their property, settlements, infrastructure, and good examples of hazardous events include earthquakes, tropical cyclones, flooding, and volcanoes. But we are going to focus in on a tropical cyclone. So starting with the characteristics of a tropical cyclone, you'll expect to see firstly a huge whirlpool. This is a gigantic mass of revolving moist air. There'll be an eye. Now an eye is a very, very eerie place. The eye of the storm, the eye of the tropical cyclone, is an area spanning around 40 kilometers where you'll actually find little to no rainfall and low winds, but surrounding the eye is what we call the cumulonimbus clouds. These are huge towering clouds that surround the eye, and here you'll find extremely high winds, high rainfall, and in fact the winds can blow as strongly as 320 kilometers per hour, and they're going to be responsible for a lot of the damage associated with tropical cyclones. A couple of important definitions now, starting with wind shear. This is a change in directional wind speed over either a horizontal or vertical distance. Next up, the Coriolis effect, or Coriolis force. This is due to the Earth's rotation. It means we experience an apparent force, and depending on which hemisphere, this force will act in a particular direction. So in the northern hemisphere, the Coriolis force deflects the wind towards the right, and in the southern hemisphere, the Coriolis force deflects the wind direction towards the left. So what conditions do we need for a tropical cyclone to form? First of all, we need the warmth and moisture associated with warm oceans found in the tropics. So we're looking at tropical cyclones forming near the equator with warm water temperatures of at least 26 degrees Celsius. You'll also find low air pressures in the tropics, and low air pressures are needed for tropical cyclones to form. The importance of the low air pressure is that it pulls water high as the cyclone gathers speed. Obviously, you'll need the presence of the Coriolis force, which will be in effect present always because of the Earth's rotation, but that will influence whether the tropical cyclone winds are blowing towards the right or towards the left. You need a low wind shear because with high wind shears, you'll remove the moisture and the heat needed for tropical cyclone formation. So what damage do tropical cyclones cause? So remember, what do we get with a tropical cyclone? High winds and high rainfall. So then think about, well, what will high wind cause? So the strong winds associated with a tropical cyclone will obviously cause damage to people's settlements, their property, their crops, as well as transport infrastructure. Heavy rainfall causes flash floods and landslides. Storm surges associated with low air pressure may flood low-lying land, destroying infrastructure and property. And remember, the direction that the tropical cyclone will move will be dictated by the direction of the prevailing wind, as well as influenced by the Coriolis effect. Now, the impact that the tropical cyclone has on a particular area depends very much on the level of development. So, are there early warning systems in place telling people that the tropical cyclone is expected? Can people move to safer places? What kind of infrastructure is in place? Are the buildings reinforced? How high or low-lying is the land? Obviously, low-lying land will be more susceptible to storm surges and the flooding associated with that. If you're looking at areas with higher urbanization, so more housing, will obviously be more affected by tropical cyclones compared with agricultural areas, although obviously these places will see damage to their crops. Let's touch on the devices used to measure tropical cyclones. So you've got the Saffir-Simpson scale. Weather stations and satellite systems, as well as anemometers, will help you monitor the formation of tropical cyclone and how likely they are to occur.